Hey guys, it's Tori Cushing with Authority Labs, and today I'm just going to walk you through how to take a simple CSV export and turn it into a really awesome Excel document that has tables and charts and graphs and things that will really help visualize your data. Okay, so let's get started. First, what I'm going to do is go into the original raw export from Authority Labs. I'm going to start by deleting column A. I simply delete that. Now what's really important to me is the start and end date for the export. So I take those and I put them up here for later. Then I end up pretty much deleting all the rest of this. Now I create my own title for the export. So what I'm going to put is Amazon keyword rank report. Okay, and then I also find the start and end date of the export really important. So I'm simply going to select that, copy, Control C, paste it, and select this date too. That time I actually cut it, so it was completely deleted, and paste it in there. Okay, so now I have a very simple title on my export. I'm going to delete the rows in between this. Another column that I don't use is the keyword tags. Now you can include that if you do use keyword tags a lot, but I didn't use that in my export, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that, column B. So I'm also going to find that the first date of the export is a very important one. It says that this is a starting point of the export and it's good to look at. Now I'm going to just select the starting date and the end date. So what I'm going to do is I can just grab this. At the top of the column, your cursor turns into a little arrow, which means that you can grab the entire column, which makes it a lot easier to delete the whole column. So I'm going to just grab this and drag all the way down to the very end. And then I'm just going to right click with it still selected and select delete. I'm also going to delete the types just because I don't really need it in this export. Now we get to the fun and pretty stuff. Adding in a table is very simple to do, but it definitely gives your sheet a real sense of authority as opposed to Excel documents that don't have tables in them. So I do this by making sure I'm on the Home tab and I go to Format as Table. I'm going to select the orange one. You just select OK, my table has headers. One thing that I'm actually going to do is delete the URL columns because they're the same for both of these columns and it's kind of redundant. I really just want to focus on the actual ranking numbers for each of these keywords. So go ahead and select each of these columns from the table and hit delete column. You can do this by either selecting the entire column like I did before when it turns into that little black arrow, or you can select the table column. The cursor will turn into a little black arrow on that and just select that column for that table. Another thing that makes a huge difference when you're formatting documents in Excel is that I really like to get rid of the grid lines. So I have my grid lines in my quick access toolbar, but you can also go to your View tab and deselect grid lines. So much cleaner already. Okay, so next I'm just going to bold and increase the size of this to really make it stand out as the title of the worksheet. Another thing I like to do is add in sort of like a buffer on each of my documents when I export them. I insert one column to the left and then I make the width 1 inch wide, which you can do by simply dragging it, or you can right click and select column width and making it 1. I feel like that just adds a little bit of a buffer between your table and the end of your document. Okay, so next we're going to move on to some conditional formatting. We do that by going up into the Home tab under Conditional Formatting. There are these presets that are called Highlight Cell Rules. I'm going to select the one that says greater than. What I'm going to do is select the cell that I'm trying to compare it to. So in this case, it would be E5. Now, the really important thing that you need to remember for this is that the money signs means that these are absolute values, and we don't want to do that because eventually we want to drag down this rule to the rest of the table. So what we're going to do is just delete these money signs. That becomes a relative value of the cell. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just select red text. I'm also going to do two other rules for other situations. If the values are equal to each other, then I just want it to be regular formatting. So I'm just going to do color automatic, no fill, and click OK. You do this by going in and selecting custom format. And then going into the font or the fill or the border, you can do whatever you want with it. Then I'm going to set this to, again, E5. And you just have to remember to go back in and delete the absolute value signs. Once you've done that, you just select OK. I'm going to go back into conditional formatting one more time and select the less than value. If this number is less than the number in column E, then that means that it's good. That means that the ranking actually went up. So if the letter 3 were the number 1, then that means that I would really want to highlight it and say that it's good, that it actually went up to the first ranking in Google instead of the third or the second. So I just go into font under custom format and select green. I also need to remember to select E5 and get rid of the absolute value signs. Alrighty, now what I'm going to do is drag this cell down and copy it to all the other cells in the table under this column. Once you get to the bottom right corner of a cell, it gives you this little black plus sign. That means that you can drag it down and copy it to each of the other cells. What we're going to do next is select this little option, and I'm going to fill with formatting only. Okay, and there you have it. Custom formatting for each one of these values. For camping equipment, the ranking went from 24 in Google to 20, so it's highlighted green. For all these other values, it stayed the same, so it stays the same in color. I think that this is really important to identify, and color coding this really helps your clients or your viewers in general to be able to understand the data more easily. Okay, so what I did next was I went in and added in some really awesome charts. These are really exciting to do. They visualize the data great if used well, and I really think that they really help pull out the important data in this ranking export. Okay, so I started with selecting the relative volume and the keyword columns. Now I did this by just simply clicking and dragging while holding the control key. So after I did that, then I went into Insert, and I went into the column chart option. I selected the clustered column chart, just a simple bar chart. Okay, I'm just going to drag this out so you can get a better idea of the data. And when you just have one data value, I usually don't need to include it in the key. You can if you would like. If you would want to make it a little bit more appealing to the eye, I would format the legend and actually put it at the bottom. But what I like to do is just completely delete it. And all I did was select it and hit the delete key. We don't really need that key because the chart is already labeled relative volume, so we already know that that's the data that's in the chart. And the keywords are pretty self-explanatory too. I'm just going to change the color of this, which you can go into the chart tools. It's actually an option that comes up when you click on the chart. It pops up there, and then you can go under design. I'm changing it to orange. Okay, so the next chart is a little bit more complex, but don't get scared. It looks really awesome at the end, and it shows the data very well. What I'm going to do is just select both the dates, the starting date and the ending date, and the keyword. And I do this again by dragging and holding the control key. Next I'm going to insert. This time I'm going to insert a line chart. This will show the progression over time. This is something that I really want to show when comparing two different dates. So I select the line, and I'm going to select the line with markers option. Okay, so now you have both of your dates, and I'm just going to simply drag this down by selecting the outside rim of the chart. I'm going to pull it out. Oops. You have to select that little option over there. And then I don't really like the coloring, so I'm going to change this to, let's say, orange and blue instead of red and blue. And again, I just go up into design. You could either select an entirely orange chart, or if you want to have a two-tone color, then you can select the actual line, and you get this little option that says shape fill. You can select that, and I'm going to change it to orange. Now what it's doing right now is just changing the fill of the markers. So I'm going to change that to orange, and then I'm also going to change the line. This is the shape outline. I'm going to change that to orange too. So that is completely orange, both the markers and the line. I'm also deciding to change this blue to a little bit of a prettier color blue. You can do this again by just changing the fill. Select this one and the outline. So next what I'm going to do is insert a header to this data, because it really is nice to see what's going on with the header. And do notice that I did include a key for both of these dates to show that the blue is the starting date and the orange is the ending date. Okay, to add in a header of your chart, you go up into Layout, and you can do Chart Title. Now right now the option is selected at None, but I'm going to do an Above Chart title. You can play around with these and figure out which one you like the most, but I like to place it above, not overlaying the lines. So I'm going to label this one Rankings Over Time. Okay, so there you have it. A simple CSV export taken to some really sexy data. I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial. This has been Tori Cushing with Authority Labs, signing off.